Hey everyone, it's Dylan with SeaTee Aquatics, and today we're going to cycle a tank. In our last video, we talked about the nitrogen cycle and how it's really important to establish this in any aquarium before adding livestock in order to help reduce stress on that livestock. In today's video, I'm going to go through and explain how to establish not only the nitrogen cycle in a new aquarium, but how to establish the entire ecosystem before adding any livestock, and then what to do once you do finally add some livestock. So the first important step in establishing a cycle in your aquarium is adding a food source. This food source is going to be an ammonia source for your bacteria. Now, there are different ammonia products on the market that you can add directly to the fish tank that will instantly give you ammonia. I tend to stay away from these as the instructions can be confusing, and in any situation where I have used them, the ammonia tends to be way overdosed even if the instructions seem clear. A couple drops seems to be more than enough, but regardless, going with these methods, in my opinion and from my experience, have seemed to take much longer than if you were to just add regular old fish food to the tank. So that is my preferred method. I tend to just add a few pellets to the tank once the tank has been set up, and then I will go on to step 2. And that is adding a beneficial bacteria source. So this is something that we did talk about a little bit in the last video as well, but adding beneficial bacteria to the tank, especially at the beginning, is super important, as it's going to be what establishes the cycle. The bacteria is what's going to break down the ammonia into nitrite and further into nitrate. You'll be feeding your fish every day, and whether the food gets eaten or not, it will break down into ammonia. Therefore, it is super important to have this bacteria in the tank to make sure that the ammonia is thoroughly broken down into a safe form for your fish and other inhabitants. The third step of the process is now to just continue feeding and wait. You need to make sure that the ammonia source is always available in the tank, because removing this will cause the bacteria to start to die off. Once you add fish to the aquarium, you should be feeding daily, so you shouldn't have to worry once there's livestock. But before there's livestock, I know it can seem like you're just feeding nothing, but at the end of the day, you are trying to feed the bacteria that is the powerhouse of your ecosystem. Over the next few weeks to a month, your tank is going to be going through a bunch of changes. If you test for any elements at this point, the 3 most important are going to be ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. At first, you're going to see the ammonia go from 0, and it's just going to go up. After a certain point, you'll start to notice that the ammonia is coming down, and nitrite is now going up in the system. Eventually, you'll notice that the nitrite starts to come down, and nitrate will go up. Once your ammonia and nitrite have hit 0, it is now safe to add livestock. Eventually, the nitrate is going to build up into the system, which that's okay. You just want to keep an eye on that number and make sure that it doesn't get too high. It can start to have a very negative effect on the tank and its inhabitants once it starts to get past the 30 parts per million range. At this point, you now should have a completely cycled aquarium. But that doesn't mean that we're done cycling the ecosystem. There's other important things that are going to happen over the next few months through the first year that are critical in long-term success in keeping a tank for 5 or 10 years or even longer. One of the most important things that I like to add into my aquarium at this point is a healthy population of copepods. There's many different brands of copepods. Personally, I like to get mine from Algae Barn, as they have a wide variety and mixed variety packs for a relatively good price. I'll add in a bunch of jars into every new tank, and this is the first piece of livestock that goes into the system before any fish or coral. Copepods are an essential part of the ecosystem, as they help to eat detritus and other small microscopic particles such as algae and unwanted bacteria and slimes. Although you can't really see them, they are crucial in any strong and thriving ecosystem. Seeding your tank with a bunch of copepods at the start can greatly help for long-term success in the future. Once I have done all of this, I have completed my nitrogen cycle and added copepods to my tank. It is now time to not only add fish, but you can also turn the lights on at this point. I like to keep the lights off before any of this is complete because putting the lights on early can cause major algae blooms and can cause some issues that make the tank unsightly. Once the copepods have been added to the system, you now have something that's actively going to help and keep the tank clean, at least for a short period of time, before you add a real cleanup crew. So that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. And remember, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to join us on our journey through the sea. Or drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of the video. Thanks for watching.